Chapter 16. Slime. Screaming out, my eyelids closed, preparing for more pain, until realizing that as the monster reached my muscles, its digestion halted. There was no explosion of pain, no sound of sizzling. It was actually tickling me. New acid discovered. As the words appeared, I could not hold them back, writhing on the ground as laughter echoed from my mouth. The small creature started to vibrate as the skin on my leg began to regrow due to demonic regeneration LVL7. It seemed confused, but as the gelatinous creature wiggled harder, more laughter erupted. Giggling, the sensation disappeared as the slime let go of my leg, starting to roll away. Sliding against the ground, the slime neared another bush. "No, you don't." Reaching out my arm, I grabbed onto the small blob. It vibrated beneath my touch, trying to use its acid to break free from my grasp, but it was to no avail. My one with acid LVL2 skill made it impossible for it to break free. I brought it closer to my face and examined it. It was small, with a diameter of about 21 centimeters. It was made of mostly blue gelatin, but at its center was a tiny sphere. Pushing my hand deeper into the slime, it wiggled even more, seeming to cry out without making any noise. Grasping the sphere, it was very smooth and warm to the touch. It glowed slightly, a deep yellow. Squeezing the small sphere, it cracked, and with the crack, the slime began to vibrate violently, small blue spikes forming along its surface. Placing more pressure on the sphere, it eventually shattered, causing the slime to deform fully, blue goo dripping down my hand and onto the forest floor. Acquired 10 exp. Smiling, I brought the shattered sphere to my mouth. Opening my mouth wide, I dropped the shattered pieces of the sphere into my mouth. The sharp shards traveled down my throat, causing small cuts to appear. The taste of iron and the sphere filled my mouth until they both eventually vanished. New skill acquired. Gelatinous form LVL1. The purple box appeared in front of me, the bright words flashing across the screen. With them disappearing, pain shot through my body. Screaming, my body began to deform, turning fluid. The sound of rupturing and breaking filled the air. Blood spilled from my mouth as I fell to my knees. My hands grasped the grass, ripping it from the ground. My back arched as my stomach released its contents. My knees gave out, causing my face to hit the ground. The prickly grass ran against my cheeks. My white hair was sprawled against the ground. My body below me was deforming me. My skin was becoming transparent and was flowing freely. Below my lucid skin, I could see my bones and muscles. They creaked and flexed below my liquid skin. Writhing in agony, my skin began to regain its thickness, and a feeling of lucidness appeared in my chest. My body returned to normal, and the pain dispersed. Still sore, I sat up, looking at the hole in the ground below me. It was disgusting. Looking away and quickly opening the demon system to check out the new skill. Gelatinous form LVL1 allows the user to convert parts of their body into slime, allowing for digestion. The user can make certain shapes out of the slime. Staring at the description, a big smile appeared on my face. Does this mean that I don't need to eat the corpses anymore? I can digest them using the slime. Focusing on my arm, I felt it begin to change. It did not hurt, but the sensation was weird. My hand turned into red slime, the muscles and bones inside vanished. It was still shaped like a hand, but its functionality was lost, barely able to close into a fist. Putting my slimy fist onto the ground, I watched as the grass dissolved, melting and being absorbed into my body. Walking up to a nearby tree and placing my hand upon its trunk, I watched as my hand started to eat away at the bark. The tree melted slowly, but after about 5 minutes, a hand-shaped hole had formed in it. From what I noticed, my tree seemed to be much stronger than that of the slime. After testing the skill out for a few more minutes, I disabled it as my head began to hurt. Watching my hand start to vibrate, Skin and muscles reformed. Skin stretched across my red muscle and connected to the fibers that were once slime. Looking around the forest, my eyes drifted to a nearby clearing. Pushing through the bushes, the sight shocked me. A beautiful field was in front of me. It was covered in flowers of all shapes and sizes. Many slimes slid through the field, devouring everything that was in their way. Watching the small creatures slide around, they eventually began to attack each other. The battle between multiple slimes was gruesome as they slid into each other, dissolving each other's forms until one's core was breached. Gelatin flew through the field, destroying the beautiful landscape. Looking away from the creatures, my eyes looked towards the sky. My mind wandered. How had I ended up here? What is this world? This is not the same world that I was born in. It can't be. This world is so beautiful compared to that hellscape. Only if my siblings got that chance to experience this. Only if they got to see this. Watching the sky, beautiful white clouds drifted across the blue. A massive ball of orange fire floated in the middle of the sky, raining down dazzling rays of light. Small shadows flew by, casting tiny shadows down upon me. Their small wings flapped elegantly, and unlike the creatures that I had seen before, their wings were fully intact. Small feathers fell from where they soared, catching one midair and rubbing it against my face. I felt its softness. I will not waste this. I will grow stronger so that I can experience what my siblings never got the chance to. Looking back at the slimes, I took action. Walking out of the bush, my eyes were locked on the chaos in front of me. The slimes continued to battle each other as I approached, only a few ceasing their attacks. 2 slimes rushed at me. The first came from the side, but its speed was abysmal. It leaped at me, but with a quick step to the side and a kick to its center, the slime's body crumpled, and its core cracked in half. Acquired 5 exp. Quickly grabbing the slime's broken core, I converted my hand to slime and watched as my acid broke down the sphere quickly. Watching in anticipation, waiting for the purple box to appear, but to my dismay, the box did not show up. Can I only eat one of every creature, or is it about luck? Looking at the next slime that approached, I reached my gelatinous hand towards the creature. It wiggled as my hand got closer, but instead of dodging it, I stretched out towards it, trying to digest it. As it made contact with me, my hand dug into its form. It vibrated in pain as my slime overwhelmed it. Gelatinous spikes appeared on the slime as I dug deeper. The slime vibrated and writhed. It tried to pull away, but my grip was too strong for the creature. Finally, I reached the slime's core, grabbing onto it with my red jelly hand. The monster vibrated violently once again before halting completely. Its form fell to the ground, and the circular sphere began to dissolve. Acquired 5 exp. Gelatinous form LVL-12. I smiled as the box appeared after devouring the second slime. So I can still improve my skills and acquire new ones, but not every time. Looking at the rest of the field, my legs moved on their own. Slimes battled around me, eating each other as I walked through the field. A few more approached me, sliding towards me at their top speeds. The first one was around 18 centimeters in diameter. The small creature jumped at me and wrapped itself around my arm. The next one, around 20 centimeters, grabbed onto my leg at the same time, while the third one, which was significantly larger, attached itself to my torso. My skin began to dissolve at first, but after activating gelatinous form LVL-2, where they held on, the slimes began to vibrate in pain. They quickly detached themselves and began to roll away in fear. The small one was the first to die. My foot drove down hard on the little slime, crushing its core completely. Next was the second largest one, which I grabbed onto, dissolving its core completely. The last one to go was the largest slime, where both hands clamped down upon it, devouring the creature's mass from both sides before finally reaching its center. Acquired 5 exp. Acquired 5 exp. Acquired 10 exp. Grabbing onto the small creature's core, I dissolved it as well. And with it being devoured, the purple box appeared once again. New skill, acquired sticky slime LVL1. My body burned for a second, and it felt as if my body was stuck to the floor for a moment. After regaining control of my body, I looked at the skill in delight. After taking it in, I moved on to the next slimes in the field. Another decently large slime came towards me, but as it approached, it jumped up off the ground towards my face. Tilting my neck, I grabbed the slime with my red, slimy hand, holding onto it tightly. The creature tried to escape, but it could not. My slime had now become sticky, keeping it trapped within my acid. The slime shook for a moment before going still. Acquired 10 exp. Looking through the field, another slime had approached me. It was much larger than the previous ones that had appeared. Its diameter was at least 25 centimeters. The slime vibrated fast and slid towards me much faster than the previous slimes. The slime was still slow, but the difference compared to the others was significant. My leg kicked out at the creature but was halted with ease. My leg had been caught in the creature's slime, and my skin began to dissolve. Trying to pull away, it was as if I was stuck. Crying out for a moment, the slime reached my muscle, and as it did, the slime's acid lost its effectiveness. With a hard pull, my leg escaped the creature's grasp. This slime was definitely stronger than the ones that I had faced before, but compared to the monsters in that cave, this was nothing. Dashing towards the creature, my leg regenerated, and I threw my fist out. My hand turned to acidic jelly, and it entered the slime's mass. It vibrated in pain for a moment before fighting back. The slime's density was much greater than the previous ones, as it took longer for me to melt through the creature. It was a fight of endurance, but unfortunately for this slime, its acid was useless on me. My hand dug deeper, and a smile appeared on my face. I twisted my slimy wrist, causing the monster to shake in pain. With another push, my hand went deeper, but to my dismay, I was knocked to the ground after being struck in the stomach. Looking down upon my stomach, I saw a gaping hole that dripped dark blood. Coughing up blood, my eyes fell upon the slime. From the creature's center, a giant, gelatinous spike protruded. On it, my dark blood dripped down onto the ground, dissolving the slime's spike and the green grass. Looking at the creature, I quickly activated World's Knowledge LVL1. Slime LVL3. Looking at the information, my hand wiped my mouth. Standing to my feet, I prepared myself for a real fight. Chapter 17, LVL2. Standing face to face with the slime, my eyes were locked on the creature's gelatinous form. It vibrated slightly as it slowly retracted its spike. The creature moved, and at the same time, so did I. It rolled slowly towards me, melting whatever was in its path, backing away slightly, preparing for the slime's next move. Once it got within striking distance, it shot a sharp jelly spike towards me. Quickly, dodging out of the way, extending my leg out and striking it in the side. It slid across the floor for about half a meter, before halting and sending a new spike towards me. It left me no time to recover from my attack, and it retaliated almost instantly. While being left unbalanced from the kick, I did not have time to escape the attack. The spike pierced directly through the middle of my foot, causing my body to get wrapped up and fall to the ground. Acidic blood quickly dissolved the slime, but the damage had been done. My foot throbbed, and blood dripped onto the beautiful ground. Putting pressure on the injured foot was not impossible, but it was not without pain. My speed had been greatly reduced. Before being able to think for any longer, another spike came rushing towards me. It did not give me enough time to react, so at the last moment, I fell, causing the gelatinous spike to miss my head by just a few centimeters. The big slime wiggled in glee as my butt hit the ground. It rolled towards me fast, retracting its spike, and then sending out another one. Rolling to the side, dodging the new spike, the creature jumped at me, kicking out the creature's body, which spread across my leg, causing my skin to melt. Screaming, I whipped my leg to the side, sending the slime flying. Small chunks of its form had been ripped out as my leg moved fast, and the slime ended up hitting a tree, causing gelatin to splatter across the bark. Pulling myself up and biting my cheek, I felt as the skin on my leg began to reform along with the hole in my foot. The creature also began to reform, its separated jelly flowing back towards its core. The slime's mass had reduced slightly, to around 23 centimeters. It jiggled in anger, rolling faster than before towards me. Lashing out, the slime sent another spike towards me, which I narrowly avoided. As the spike began to retract, my hand turned into red jelly, and I grabbed onto the creature's spike. Quickly, my acid dissolved the trunk of the spike, causing the rest of it to lose its shape and fall to the ground, forming into a puddle of goo. As I did this, the creature wiggled violently and shrank to a tiny size. Quickly, I rushed towards the slime, kicking it hard in the side and sending it toppling over itself. It rolled aggressively against the ground, losing some mass to the grass. While running to attack the slime again, the creature shot a well-aimed spike towards me, piercing my leg and causing me to topple forward into the high grass. The acid did not affect me, but the slime's sharpness had pierced all the way to my bone, making me immobile for a moment. The slime, sensing my weakness, rolled fast to get on top of me. While watching the slime do to this, I put my arm between the creature and my face. The slime, not wasting a second, attached itself to my arm, burrowing towards my muscles. Amused by the creature's futile attempt, I quickly tried to whip my arm and send the creature flying. But to my horror, the inside of the slime began to form small spikes that were each the width of my arm. The slime shot out the spikes, piercing my arm through in multiple locations. Wincing in pain, my mobility in my hand had vanished. It clung to me, climbing closer to my head. With each centimeter it traversed, more spikes it would discharge. My bones creaked where they were struck, and my muscles trembled from the multiple holes that were being left in them. My blood dissolved the little spike almost instantly, but as more and more holes were made in me, the harder my heart had to pump, causing the acid to become weaker. After a few moments, the slime had reached my shoulder, sending a larger spike piercing through it. Looking down, my arm's skin had vanished, leaving only exposed, ruined muscles visible. The sight was disconcerting, as blood spurted from the torn, unstable muscles. Using my unharmed hand, I converted it to slime and grabbed at the creature sliding up my body. My acid had weakened, so it took much longer to melt through the creature. And on the other hand, it seemed that after devouring my skin, the slime had returned to its original size of 25 centimeters. As it climbed higher, it almost felt as if the slime were stronger than at the start of the battle. My eyes widened as the creature reached my neck, sending a large spike piercing through the center of it. Air escaped me quickly, causing me to collapse to the ground. Falling on my back, the creature continued its advance, closing in on my head. Holding onto my neck, I felt my vision darken slightly as it took great effort to breathe. Forcing myself to continue fighting, my red slime hand dug deeper into the creature, causing it to wiggle on top of me. If it weren't for the multiple holes in me, it would have actually been an enjoyable sensation. Feeling its gelatin begin to dissolve even quicker, I realized my wounds across my arm had healed, allowing for more acid to be focused into my blood. Burrowing deeper into the creature, it tried to send a spike into my gelatin, hoping to dissolve it instantly. But it was no use. The creature stopped its ascent, now writhing in pain. Digging deeper, a smile appeared on my face before being replaced by a pained expression. I began to choke as air did not reach my lungs. My head began to go blank, my vision darkened, and my push inside the slime dwindled. My other arm fell to the ground, releasing the grip on the hole in my neck. It clambered to the ground, rustling the strands of grass that rested below it. Wind rustled my hair and sent a shiver down my spine. My eyes shut for a moment, and the giant ball of fire I had seen in that tunnel flashed through my mind. Gasping, my eyes bolted open, examining the scene. Air began to fill my throat as the hole had healed, but it was soon quickly cut off when the slime planted itself onto my face. It cut off my breathing and began to dissolve my skin. Quickly, I pushed my hand harder, trying to dissolve the creature and break its core. The creature, realizing what my plan was, sent a spike down into my mouth, piercing deep into the flesh before getting stopped by my bone. Pain shot through me as the spike held my mouth open, leaving it agape. My saliva broke down the slime's spike slowly, but as my eyes caught another spike beginning to form, I reacted out of instinct. Using all my strength, I forced my mouth shut and bit the spike off the creature, swallowing it quickly and opening my mouth again, chomping into the creature. It wiggled as I did this, and, from my sudden action, the spike it had been forming fell apart as it lost concentration. Swallowing and preparing to take another bite of the slime, it tried to jump away, but with my slime hand being wrist-deep within it now, and using sticky slime LVL1, the monster had no chance of escaping. It vibrated violently and even tore itself apart as it tried to escape my grasp. Unfortunately, after a few more moments, the creature stopped struggling and tried to form a spike once again, but it was too late. With a final push, my hand breached its defenses and made contact with the slime's core. It suffered for a few seconds before halting as the small sphere dissolved. It cracked and then bubbled before finally disappearing into my hand. The slime lost its form, falling atop me and allowing me to take a deep breath. Coughing for a moment, I threw up some of the slime's liquid before getting to my feet. Gelatinous form LVL-23. Acquired 20 exp. You have reached LVL-2. Looking at the screen, my mouth opened in delight. My skill had leveled up, and I had become level 2. What does leveling up even mean? The words quickly disappeared, and as they did, a heat rushed through my body, but unlike getting a new skill, this did not hurt. The heat dispersed through me, and it felt as if my body were changing. My muscles ripped and reformed stronger. My clarity had increased, and without even using them, I knew the mastery of my skills had improved slightly. Flexing my arm, the sight surprised me. It was not a big difference, but my muscles seemed to have more definition to them. Examining myself more, even my skin had gotten slightly brighter. Wanting to test out my new body, I hopped up and down, and the difference was definitely noticeable. I jumped slightly higher than before. Looking at a nearby tree, I shut my eyes to prepare myself, then opened them, and my legs exploded forward, reaching a speed faster than before. After a few seconds, my hands reached out, taking the input as my momentum carried me into the tree. Breathing raggedly for just a few seconds, even my endurance increased. Leveling up is great. After testing my new strength, I opened the demon system. Name, ###. Title, ###. Race, demon-born mythical. Tier, 1 fledgling. Class, devourer mythical. LVL, 20/200. Blood, 18/150. Skills, intrinsic. Gluttony LVL-1. 1 with acid LVL-2. World's knowledge LVL-1. Gelatinous form LVL-3. Tier 1. Demonic regeneration LVL-7. Heightened perception LVL-4. Earthen sense LVL-1. Sticky slime LVL-1. Tier 2. Pain nullification LVL-6. My level, the number, had returned to 0, and the 100 had become 200. Does that mean that I have to get the first number to reach the second to level up? I will keep better track of it for next time. Looking to the next part, my blood had increased to the maximum amount, and the amount that I had accumulated over the kills as well. I wonder how that works. Is there blood inside the slime cores? Anyways, with 18 blood, many of my skills could be upgraded. Well, first I'll kill the rest of these slimes and then look at that. After killing that level 3 slime, my gelatinous form had leveled up to 3. Thinking about the skill, my hand morphed into red slime. It seemed as if the slime flowed more smoothly, and the color was darker. Moving the slime slightly, the form that it was in, which was of my hand, broke and transformed into a small spike that protruded from my arm. Smiling at the sight, I tested out the upgraded skill. Thrusting my hand forward towards a nearby tree, it pierced through about half a meter of the tree before stopping and slowly melting the tree down. It was definitely not as sharp or as dense as the level 3 slime spikes, but it was still effective. Due to its small, more condensed size, it melted things more slowly, but it made up for that drawback with its initial power. As my arm was stuck in the tree, I released the spike, causing the slime to melt the tree from the inside out. That may be useful. Slowly, my arm retracted, pulling my jelly out from the deformed tree. Walking away, my arm turned back to normal, my skin glowing as the light from above hit it. Looking up at the sky, I realized it had grown darker. The giant ball of fire had drifted away from the center of the sky and was now beginning to descend behind the horizon. On the other side of the sky, something began to appear, but it had not fully emerged, so I could not see it properly. Looking back into the field, the sight surprised me. There were only around 5 slimes remaining out of the initial 24 or so. Taking a few steps, the first 2 slimes noticed me and began to roll over to me. Smiling and transforming my hand into a slime spike, this was the perfect test for this ability. Winding back my arm, I waited for the first slime to reach me. Once it was within around a meter of me, it jumped up trying to grab onto me. Before even a piece of its jelly touched me, I thrust my arm forward, aiming the sharp part of my spike directly towards the monster's core. With a swift lunge, my spike pierced through the creature fully, completely penetrating the slime's core. Its goo that fell from the air onto the ground, causing a patch of grass to char and die. Acquired 5 exp. Smiling, I brought my arm up and hung the core above my mouth. My acid melted the sphere, causing it to drip slowly, landing upon my tongue before eventually flowing down my throat into my stomach. The melted core tasted slightly sweet but had a rough texture, which I did not enjoy. Gaining no skills, my arm raised again as the next slime approached me. With a cruel smile plastered across my face, I thrust at the blue monster. Chapter 18. Upgrades. My arm pierced through the slime with ease, shattering the creature's core easily. My slime dissolved the core, but no skills were gained from it. Acquired 5 exp. Leaving the dead creature behind, the next one began to roll towards me. It was slightly larger and seemed to be faster as well. It jumped towards me, but before it reached me, I stepped to the side, causing the slime to fly by my head. Wind followed as its mass flew through the air, making my white hair flow elegantly. Quickly, as the creature missed, my arm flew through the air, piercing it through and making its circular body lose form. Quickly dissolving the core, I moved again. Acquired 10 exp. Walking towards the new creatures to finish the job, they seemed to realize that they could defeat me. As fast as they could roll, they moved away from me, trying to escape into the forest. Dashing towards them, they did not last long, both being pierced through almost instantly. Acquired 5 exp. Acquired 5 exp. After dissolving their cores, the purple box reappeared. Body density LVL1, acquired. Reading the skill, I eagerly waited for the words to fade. They vanished and the process started. My body quaked for a moment as heat built in my core. With an explosion, it was released into my body, causing immense pain. Falling to one knee, it hurt to breathe, and it felt as if my body itself was hardening. Gasping, the pain diminished before eventually ceasing entirely. My chest retracted for a moment while my body recovered from obtaining the skill. My body felt stronger and more durable. It felt as if I were heavier, even though there was no actual increase in mass. The weight increase did not affect my speed, as my muscles and bones were strengthened as well. Quickly opening the demon system and checking the skill's description. Body density LVL, 1 increases the density of the user by 10%. It's very straightforward. I should have probably guessed that from the name of the skill. Approaching a nearby tree, I punched it, causing a chunk of bark to break off. My hand bled, but my bones did not falter. My hand throbbed for a moment before returning to normal, and next, I turned my hand fully into the red slime spike. The difference was great. Even my slime's density had increased. Thrusting at the tree, the difference was noticeable, increasing the depth my spike traveled by 10%. Smiling at the changes and thinking about the rest of my skills, I opened the demon system once again. Name, ###. Title, ###. Race, demon-born mythical. Tier, 1 fledgling. Class, devourer mythical. LVL, 230/200. Blood, 24/150. Skills. Intrinsic. Tier 1. Gluttony LVL 1. Gelatinous form LVL 3-17 blood. Body density LVL 1-7.5 blood. World's knowledge LVL 1. Tier 2. 1 with acid LVL 2-4191.5 blood. Regular. Tier 1. Demonic regeneration LVL 7-82.8 blood. Heightened perception LVL 4-24.5 blood. Earthen sense LVL 1-7.5 blood. Sticky slime LVL 1-7.5 blood. Tier 2. Pain nullification LVL 6-67,352 blood. Thinking about my blood bank, the skills cost showed up. Many were within the budget, but a few were too expensive, especially pain nullification. Why did it almost cost 70,000 blood to upgrade? With the amount of blood that the creatures I have faced have given me, it would take an eternity to get that much blood, and my capacity was not high enough for it either. The other sight that confused me was that of the cost of world's knowledge and gluttony. The skills both had an unknown amount where the number should have been, and when trying to upgrade, it would keep declining. Not sure of why the skills cost was unknown, I moved on. Sighing, that will hopefully change as I grow stronger. Looking at the available skills, my blood bank had enough blood to upgrade only 2 skills to level 2 or 1 to level 4. Another option was to bring a level 1 skill to level 3. Looking at my options, it's hard to decide which skills to upgrade. They were all decent. Sticky slime LVL 1-7.5 blood. Earthen sense LVL 1-7.5 blood. Body density LVL 1-7.5 blood. Gelatinous form LVL 3-17 blood. Those were my only options, but picking through the 4 choices was nearly impossible. Each skill had its own benefits and served a certain purpose. Some would be necessary in one situation while being useless in the other. It was a tough decision. Sticky slime was great for keeping my enemies near me while I digested them. It caused the creatures to get stuck in my acidic slime, which had been very effective against the recent slimes. But against stronger foes, the skill at level 1 may not be enough. Thinking about the benefits for a moment, I decided to give it a little more thought and check out the other options. Earthen sense was great as well. And after testing it out for a while, I noticed that it allowed me to sense the vibrations of creatures up to 30 meters away if the vibrations that they created were strong enough. Being able to detect monsters sooner before they attack would be amazing as well. If it were to level up, I wonder how much of a difference it would create. Next was body density, which was acquired just recently and seemed very useful. It strengthened my body evenly, making me more durable all around, and it also allowed my attacks to pack a greater punch without losing speed. Unlike sticky slime and earthen scents, body density gave me a flat percentage increase. I was not sure if it would increase by exactly 10%, but even if it was higher or lower, it was an excellent skill. Out of all the skills, gelatinous form was the highest level one I could upgrade, and it is definitely worth considering. My gelatin was strong to begin with and could form jelly spikes. Even though at my current level, only one spike could form and its stability was not very high, it was still very powerful. Looking over my options again, my decision was made. Focusing on body density, I upgraded it to level 2. Body density LVL 1-2. Feeling the increase instantly, my body grew stronger, weighing more, and I adjusted to the phenomenon. My speed stayed the same, and I could tell the skill did, in fact, increase my density by 10% again. Taking a few steps, the grass beneath my feet crumpled, flattening itself against the dirt. Walking up to a new and not destroyed tree, punching it, and causing the hardwood to concave where it had been struck. Grabbing onto the tree, realizing that my grip strength had increased as well. This skill was truly fantastic. Looking at my demon system again, my blood had reduced from 24 to 16.5, and the skill body density increased in price. Now it costs 11.3 blood. The increase was not dramatic, but it was scaling. Still, I'm not sure how pain nullification LVL 6 was so expensive. Looking at the number, crying out for a moment. Finally, for my second skill upgrade, only 3 options remained now. Sticky Slime LVL 1-7.5 blood. Earthen Scents LVL 1-7.5 blood. Body Density LVL 2-11.3 blood. Gelatinous form was out of the question now, since I was only just 0.5 blood away from being able to upgrade it, but truly it could wait. The skill was already very useful. Thinking about the options, I focused my attention on Earthen Scents. Sticky Slime was useful, but it was not fully necessary, and with the monsters I was currently facing, level 1 was enough for now. And since I had just leveled up body density, I thought it was strong for my level. With Earthen Scents, on the other hand, even being able to detect a monster a few seconds earlier could be very helpful. If something dangerous were approaching, then it would either give me time to prepare or flee. The skill was also useful for finding creatures to kill, revealing their locations and allowing me to gauge whether they might be too strong for me. It was the perfect skill for tracking and leveling up. Earthen Scents, LVL 1-2. The skill leveled up, and to test it out, I shut my eyes. The vibrations traveled through the ground into my feet and up my legs into my body. They were clearer to me now, giving me a general size of the creature instead of a vague outline. The radius of my body's ability to sense vibrations had increased as well, now reaching at least 40 meters. Using the new skill, I found the location of some small creatures that were deeper in the forest. There were around 2 of them. Feeling the animals, my eyes opened, and my legs started to move towards them, following the vibrations. The creatures finally came into vision. There were 2 small, furry creatures with long ears. They were eating the grass in the middle of a small clearing, beams of light illuminating the animals. Examining them closely, I used World's Knowledge LVL1 to identify the small furballs. Aurelian Bunny LVL1. Aurelian Bunny LVL1. They were both level 1 and the same species. Wondering if they would give me any unique skills, I approached the small creatures slowly. Crouching down, my hand turned into crimson slime before transforming into a spike. Gradually getting closer to the bunnies, my body breached a bush that had kept me concealed. With the rustling of the bush, both of the small creatures made direct eye contact with me, making me freeze instantly. Their beady eyes stared daggers at me, neither of them blinking once. With a slight movement from me, the bunnies bolted off. They moved far faster than the slimes, and were even faster than I was. Reaching out and trying to stab the bunnies ended up in a disaster. Missing the creatures caused me to lose balance and fall on my face, my acidic arm burning an outline in the ground. Letting out a breath, I looked up into the sky. The sight was amazing. The rays of light that had filled the view a mere few moments ago had vanished. In their place was a dazzling darkness. The giant fireball in the sky had disappeared, now being replaced by a massive rock. The rock was much closer than the ball of fire, filling up almost the entire night sky. The rock had many holes in it, but it was not colorless. It was covered in water, with greenery, massive oceans, and forests visible on its surface. Small flickering lights also appeared across the landscape, causing the massive rock to glow slightly in the darkness. A dazzling ring of thousands, if not millions, of massive boulders also surrounded the rock. Each one was a unique color, and it seemed like a rainbow surrounded the massive rock. The rock took up the majority of the sky, but in the spots where it did not cover, small dancing lights beamed. Each one was so small, but also so beautiful. There were countless tiny lights. They filled the endless abyss above with light. My eyes sparkled as they sighted me. Looking at certain lights, it seemed as if they created pictures. What they made was unknown to me, but they sure were such a wonderful sight to behold. My eyes watered for a moment as I remembered the sky that was above my home world. It was just an endless darkness filled with horrifying monsters. The only light ever appearing in it was violent bolts of red lightning. Shivering for a moment, my hand reached up towards the massive rock, with tears flowing down my cheek. Looking upon the massive rock, my hand shut tight into a fist. I will not waste this. Chapter 19. Safety. The forest seemed so peaceful right now. Only the sound of branches rustling and wind gusting filled the air. The noise from the flying creatures had vanished, leaving the surrounding area eerily quiet. Replacing the song they made was a high-pitched, rhythmic noise that seemed to echo from the long grass surrounding me. Chirp, 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 chirp. It was not an annoying sound, but one that faded into the forest's background. Using my newly upgraded earthen sense, I scouted the nearby area, looking for anything that could be a threat to me or for a creature that could be my next prey. The forest's vibrations were unsettling. I could not sense a single creature within 40 meters of me. The ground was very steady, only slight vibrations echoed from the nearby trees as the wind caused them to sway. Regressing to my normal vision, my eyes adjusted to the dark landscape. Searching the nearby foliage, I found nothing. Looking into the darkness and deciding to walk until finding something interesting. The grass reached my knees, rubbing against my skin and making it itch. The light from the sky bounced off my pale body, making me shine in the darkness. Leaves fell on the ground as the wind carried them from their trees, crunching and crumbling beneath my feet. Walking through the forest was fairly difficult, as the terrain was challenging to navigate. In the long grass were small rocks which poked my feet. One even caused me to trip and fall, scraping my knees and hands. Standing to my feet and continuing to walk, and ensuring to watch where I was stepping before each foot landed. Dodging rocks and roots, weaving through the forest. It was oddly silent. Realizing why, the high-pitched noise which had drowned into the background had stopped. Stopping for a moment and observing the forest once again. The entire forest had gone completely quiet. There was no wind, no rustling, no noises. It was deathly quiet. Looking up, The sky was drowned out by the trees, leaving only a little of the night's light to seep through the leaves. Darkness enveloped me. Even though I could still see quite well, the darkness was terrifying. Suddenly, a roar echoed from deeper into the forest. The roar made me shiver, and goosebumps ran down my arms. Activating Earthen Sense LVL2, trying to find the location of the roar, but it must not have been within 40 meters because I could not sense it. The ground began to tremble, but my skill did not detect the source of the vibrations. It was still far away. In the distance, trees began to sway. Around 200 meters away, they began to fall, and loud booms filled the air. Another roar filled the forest, and with it, more trees fell. The floor beneath me was now quaking, and the creature was approaching fast, now being only around 150 meters away. Looking in the direction of the incoming creature, I turned around quickly and dashed in the opposite direction. My arms pumped hard, and my feet danced across the ground, avoiding obstacles. Trees rumbled behind me, and louder booms echoed closer to me than before. The creature was closing the distance. Pushing my legs to the limit, my muscles strained, and blood pumped rapidly. My heart raced, and heat built in my chest. My eyes darted over my shoulder, but the only thing that I could see was the tree tops rustling before falling to the ground. Looking forward, a tree appeared in my path. Quickly, I jumped out of the way of the tree, narrowly avoiding it. My foot got caught in one of the tree's roots. My ankle snapped to the side as it got caught, causing me to tumble to the ground and smash my face against the dirt. My foot throbbed as I quickly tried to stand up. A giant purple bump formed on my ankle, causing me to limp. Behind me, another tree fell, sending a gust of air in my direction. My earthen sense finally picked up on the creature's vibrations. It was only 40 meters behind me now. The vibrations were monstrous. The creature exerted immense force with each step. The creature was enormous. Looking back and seeing another tree fall, the foliage broke apart, revealing a terrifying monster. It was very large, with dark brown fur, and its long, monstrous face. The monster was very wide, with gigantic paws that could crush me whole. Black eyes stared at me, and as we made eye contact, a roar erupted from its jaws. Long, sharp teeth shone in the dark, saliva dripping from its mouth. Quickly, I activated World's Knowledge LVL1 to see the level of the monster. Aurelian Frenzied Bear, LVL. The creature was a bear, and its level was unknown, which means it's at least 10 levels higher than me. It was truly a monster. Quickly, I turned my head and began to move as fast as possible. My foot was damaged, and my speed was greatly reduced. Each step sent a jolt of pain through my body. After a few moments, I went from limping to jogging, and then to full-on sprinting as the lump on my foot disappeared. A roar echoed from behind me, and a loud thumping shook the forest ground. As it was now within the distance of where its vibrations could be sensed, the speed of the monster was absurd. Even while running at full speed, the creature closed the distance to just 30 meters within a few seconds. And then, a few more seconds later, it was within 20 meters of me. Looking over my shoulder, watching as trees snapped, bark creaking and breaking as the bear crashed through them. Its eyes were filled with rage and hunger. It roared again, speeding up its chase. I was struggling to breathe, my throat was dry, and my heart raced. It was now only 10 meters away, the sound of grass crumpling as it charged through the forest. Sweat dripped down my face, and my body was quaking. Fear took hold of me, not allowing my head to look back at the monster. 9 meters. 8 meters. The wind it created now rammed into my back, and the sound of its breathing filled my ears. Its breath was disgusting, a mix of rotten meat and blood. It made me want to vomit, but I could not stop. My legs were burning, and they were beginning to cramp as my speed increased. But as mine did, so did the bear's. 7 meters. 6 meters. 5 meters. It roared right behind me, causing me to snap out of my fear, finally. My head snapped back to see the bear's paw raised above its head. Time seemed to freeze as its paw descended upon me. I could feel my blood turn cold and my sweat enter my mouth. The taste of salt filled my mouth. Swallowing my saliva, my eyes shot. Tears formed at the side of my eyes. With a loud crack, it struck me in the side. I flew through the air for a moment before slamming into the ground and rolling through the tall grass. While rolling, my head hit a sharp rock, causing it to bleed badly. Tumbling through the forest, the only thing that stopped me was a thick tree that cracked as my body collided with it. Crumpling against the tree, my body was frozen. Multiple ribs had shattered, and my shoulder had been completely ruined from the impact. My side was now purple, with a massive bruise that had 5 deep cups at its center. Sitting there, blood traveled up my throat and out of my mouth, replacing the taste of salt with iron. My head throbbed as red seeped into the corners of my vision. Looking down at my limbs, the damage was moderate. My left leg was bent sideways, with a sharp object creating a bump in it without actually breaking through. On the other hand, my right leg seemed to fare much better, with only a massive welt on my knee and some small cuts along it. My arms seemed mostly fine, with the exception of small cuts that leaked acidic blood onto the ground. It hurt to move my right arm far more than it hurt to move my left, but both were still completely functional. My ears rang and my eyes felt droopy, but I forced myself to look at the creature, tilting my head up. It still had its paw slightly raised, but on each of its talons my blood dripped. They seemed to sizzle slightly before stopping completely, my acidic blood only giving the bear a trim. The monster was still drooling uncontrollably, but the rage in its eyes had been replaced. Now there was something else: hunger and joy. Wiping its paw of blood and turning the grass red before melting it, the creature slowly began to walk towards me. A giant grin appeared on the bear's face. It showed its disgusting, sharp teeth. They had all turned a rotten black, and small little flies encircled the monster's jaw. Now that it was closer, more fine details stood out to me. The monster's fur seemed jagged, and in some spots, whole chunks were missing. The creature had many scars running up its body. Some were small, others very large. Looking at the creature, I saw it walk with a limp. Its left hind leg was injured. Looking more closely at the creature, small objects protruded from it. There was metal and wood. The bear seemed to have weapons sticking out from its body. Arrows, spearheads, and even the sharp jewel of a staff lodged within the monster. The monster was being hunted. Were there more people like me, who grows stronger by killing? Puzzled, my time ran out. The creature now loomed above me. Its breath streaked across my face, urging me to vomit. Gagging but holding back, my eyes met the creature. It looked deep into my pupils, as if examining me. The creature raised its paw, quickly closing my eyes and awaiting it to strike me, but the strike did not come. Instead, the bear poked me, drawing a small amount of blood from my arm. My stomach caved in for a moment beneath the bear's strength before returning to normal as it pulled away. It grumbled for a moment and then roared its hot breath, filling my nostrils. Putting itself onto its 2 back feet, it stood above me. It was now towering above me, standing almost equally as high as one of the smaller trees that it stood next to. Looking into my eyes, it roared again, but it tilted its head towards the night sky this time instead of at me. Saliva dripped onto my face while it regained focus and stared at me again. Rising even higher, it pulled back to deliver a brutal blow to my broken body. The forest was quiet. The only sound that filled it was my breath and the bear's breath. Looking up at the bear, I accepted my fate, until suddenly a loud noise echoed from the forest. Chapter 20. A Chance. A loud, constant roar echoed from deep within the forest, causing the monster to halt its attack and change directions. Now facing the noise, the bear growled before roaring back into the forest. The wind stopped for a moment, making the atmosphere very tense. Looking at the creature, its body was rigged, and for a moment, I thought I saw fear plastered across its face. Trying to stand up, my legs gave out, causing my butt to slam against the ground. Coughing aloud, my head rested against the tree. My body tried to heal, but the damage was too severe, slowing my healing. My breathing was ragged, and with each breath I took, a sharp pain shot through my chest. The bear looked at me for a moment before a sound came from within the forest, causing it to look towards it. The sound of stomping filled the surrounding area. Grass crumpled beneath multiple feet, and branches snapped in every direction. The bear growled even more, showing its sharp teeth. The sounds of words filled the air. My earthen sense, LVL2, picked up on dozens of vibrations entering its radius, and they were approaching fast. Once they had gotten closer, the sounds of words filled the air. "There it is. Archers, take aim," a man's voice shouted. "Aim for its eyes." Another voice chimed in, now a woman's. From behind the bushes that were in front of the bear, a large group of people who looked like me came running out. They were all armed with weapons and armor. In the front were armored individuals carrying spears, and after them were people wielding swords. From my right and left, 2 more groups appeared, taking the same formation as the first. The groups halted around 20 meters from where the bear was, surrounding it. From the crowd, whispers began to circulate. "There's someone there. Is she alive? Just look at her. No one could survive such wounds." Suddenly, the whispers halted, a tunnel breaking in the formation as a male wearing heavy steel-plated armor stepped forth. He wielded a massive battle axe and had the aura of a commander and great warrior. From underneath his plated helmet, a deep and commanding voice shot out. "Archers, on my mark," he said, raising his hand. "Wait, no. I'm alive. Don't shoot, please. I needed help, and these people were the only way to survive." Using all my strength, I began to force all my power into my arms, slowly raising them above my head and holding them up for a second before they tumbled down. While doing this, eyes widened, and mouths fell agape in the crowd. A tall and elegant woman who stood next to the axe-wielding warrior began to move. She wielded a spear, and on her side was a small but deadly knife. Her helmet only covered the top of her head, and she wore a shiny and elegant breastplate. On her legs were just a simple pair of leather leggings and a well-made pair of boots. Walking towards the heavily armored man, she spoke. "Commander, there's a woman behind the beast. She's heavily injured but alive. What are your orders?" "We all knew there would be losses here. That's what we all signed up for. Everyone knew the risks," he said. "But, sir, she is not a part of the regimen. She's a foreigner." "Then she's a fool for straying off the path." "Sir, we can't just—" "Lieutenant, silence. Would you rather let this beast escape and cause more harm to other people just as it harmed your sister, or would you rather deal with it now?" The commander yelled out, cutting off the spear-wielding woman mid-sentence. The woman went silent, her eyes slightly gleaming as tears formed at the corners. Slowly, she stepped back with her head down. "I understand, sir," the woman said silently. Turning his head back towards the bear, he brought his hand down. "Release," he yelled out. With the motion from his hand, the sound of whooshing filled the forest. Arrows flew out from behind the bushes, cutting through the air. The bear opened its eyes in shock before raising its front paw to its face. Arrows rained down upon the creature from all sides, implanting themselves in the creature's body. My eyes opened as some of the arrows flew by, missing the bear and planting themselves in the nearby grass. One even pierced the tree above me, causing bark to fall on my head, and I raised my hands, trying to shield myself as more arrows rained down. The arrows littered the field, and as they continued to fall, some struck me. One pierced my torso, implanting itself deep within. Another hit me in the leg, entering deep into my calf and piercing into the ground below. With a scream, another pierced my hand, halting right before my eye. Pain seeped through my body, and my vision began to blur. Snapping me out of it, the bear roared, sending a gust of wind towards the commander and the group. Arrows were all across its body, and many were planted within the paw that was covering its head. Blood dripped from its multiple wounds. Its teeth ground together before it bashed its paw against a nearby tree, snapping the arrow shafts and only leaving the points of the arrows in. Using its non-injured paw, the bear swatted at the rest of the arrows that stuck out from its body. After a few seconds, the majority of the arrows that could be reached had been snapped. The bear growled viciously before putting itself on 2 feet. It stood tall and stared down at the group of small people. Saliva dripped from its mouth as it bashed its front paws against its scarred chest. With a roar, it dropped back down to all fours. "Archers, cease fire," the commander shouted out. "Spears, brace." With those words, the front row of spearmen positioned their spears forward toward the bear. The sworders behind them readied themselves as well. With a roar, the bear charged towards the group of people. The commander stepped back behind the lieutenant as she positioned her spear. The man held his battle axe high, waiting for the perfect moment to attack. "Hold!" the commander shouted as the bear charged. "Hold!" he yelled again. The bear was panting. Each step contained an anger that made the forest quake. "Hold!" he yelled again. The bear was almost upon them. The bear was prepared to crash through the line. "Now!" the commander yelled. The spearmen nearest to the bear thrusted forward, striking the bear head-on. Some of the spears bent, but some connected with the bear, implanting themselves into the creature's flesh. The monster roared in pain as the spear line halted its charge. "Swordmen now!" the commander yelled. With the words, the spearmen retreated, some even leaving their spears embedded in the bear as they were too hard to pull out. From behind, the sword wielders, including the commander, stepped forward. They struck the bear, causing massive gashes to form. Blood sprayed from where they attacked, causing the bear to whimper in pain. "Spears, keep poking it down from behind us," the man ordered. "Archers, support the group, but don't fire. We can't afford any friendly fire." The group worked in unison to attack the monster. Whenever the bear tried to attack, the people in that area would move to avoid the strike, while the group on the other side took the opportunity to attack. The commander and lieutenant worked flawlessly, backing each other up whenever one needed support. Both of them took the most difficult position to fight the bear, standing right in front of its face. When the woman struck the bear with her spear, the commander would focus on the creature's side. And whenever a paw tried to descend upon the two of them, the commander would use his superior strength and equipment to block the attack, relying on the woman to deal damage as he created an opening. The bear was becoming overwhelmed by the constant barrage of attacks, and its speed had decreased drastically as the battle dragged on. Its breathing was ragged, and it seemed to wobble on its feet. The creature's eyes showed fear, but also sadness. From behind me, a small roar echoed from within a bush. Turning my head, I saw a small creature standing about 45 meters away. The creature had the same brown fur as the bear, and its beady eyes reminded me of the monster. It had no scars, but on its head were small, perky ears. Aurelian frenzied cub, LVL 5. Was it the bear's child? My eyes widened as the cub began to dash towards its mother. The mother bear looked at its cub running towards it, and something snapped within it. A swordsman who was near the bear lost focus as the cub distracted him with a roar. "There's its cub. First one to kill it gets." The man did not get to finish his sentence. The bear brought down its massive paw. The man went silent for a moment before blood gushed out of his mouth. His sword fell as his hands moved to his waist, but soon they dropped to his side. His body was split in half, his torso falling to the ground. His legs then followed, crumbling to the ground. His intestines bled from his torso, and blood turned the beautiful green grass red. Flesh littered the forest, and more of his insides fell out. His organs, his bones, his blood. The man was dead. Beside him, a woman who wielded a spear hesitated for a moment as she watched her comrade fall, but that hesitation cost her. The monster struck down. Bracing herself, she raised her spear to block the attack. "No, you can't block. You need to dodge," the lieutenant yelled out, but it was too late. The woman's spear shattered beneath the weight of the bear, causing the spear to travel through the air and pierce the woman's face. She screamed for a moment as the paw crashed down upon her. The woman crumpled beneath the force, a loud snap echoing from her legs. Her knees snapped, and so did her spine as her back bent forward. The woman was brought to the ground, her face stuck in the dirt. Tears flowed down her cheeks, but she could no longer move. Both her legs had been destroyed, bones piercing the skin. Her back was also broken, a massive lump appearing on her center back. The woman's screams echoed through the forest. A heart-wrenching scream, a scream filled with pure pain and fear. She screamed out, Please, cough, savi, cough, me." Blood leaked from her mouth. The lieutenant dashed towards the woman, causing the commander to yell at her to get back into formation. The lieutenant almost reached her, but the bear raised its paw. Stomped down upon the woman, she let out one last word. "Mo mommy." The sound of splatting filled the air, causing all the soldiers to freeze for a moment. The woman's skull was pulverized, shattering instantly upon contact with the bear's paw. Blood splashed across the field, covering the lieutenant's face and causing her to begin to tremble. The woman's brain matter littered the forest floor, her crumpled, headless body spraying blood from where her head used to be. Rolling up to the lieutenant's feet was the woman's eyeball. The lieutenant was trembling with rage, her spear quaking. Tears flowed from her eyes. "You're evil." She had a family. A mother, a father, and a baby sister. She was barely an adult. How could you? The lieutenant screamed out. Lost in rage, she raised her spear at the bear. Her hands trembled and her teeth chattered. Quickly, she planted her feet, crushing the grass, and lunged toward the beast. "Belle, watch out," the commander shouted. But it was too late. The bear had focused entirely on her. It swatted at her spear, snapping its wooden shaft in half and disarming her. The woman rolled on the ground as the bear attacked again, dodging its strike and pulling out her knife. She skillfully jumped up and slashed at the bear. The knife made contact with the bear, and as it did, the metal shattered. The lieutenant's eyes widened in surprise. The commander screamed out, trying to get between the bear and her, but it was too late. The world froze for a moment as the bear raised its paw. Anger plastered across its face.